Hi everybody, this is Mr. Beckstrom, and today I wanted to talk about a problem from section 10.1. This is on the parabola, and it says find the equation of the parabola with the given focus and directrix, and it gives us a focus of 2, 1, and a directrix of y is equal to -4. So before I answer this, I want to talk a little bit about the parabola, how we define it, and what this focus and directrix is, because if you're seeing it for the first time, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm sure we've seen parabolas before. We often describe them with quadratics, right? Something like y is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1, something like that. They usually either go straight up or straight down. And we've seen them quite often when we graph these nonlinear equations. So let's see how we can define a parabola. So the first thing that it defines it as, it's the set of all points in the plane that are equidistant from a fixed line, the directrix, and a fixed point not on the line, the focus. So this focus is a point. So let's go ahead and plot that point here. And let's do a big point there. So at 2, 1, we have a point. Let me change the color of that. At 2, 1 here, we've got a, let's do it. Let's do a green point there. 2, 1. All right, so we have a point here. And then we're also going to have a directrix, and a directrix is just basically a dotted line. It helps us to graph this thing. Think of it as like an asymptote, except in this case, this is a horizontal line because it's a y is equal to a number. An asymptote would be a vertical, it would be an x is equal to a number. So I'm going to use my ruler here so I can get a nice straight line, and it's at y is equal to -4. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, it is, so I'm going to draw a nice dotted line going right across there. And that would be the directrix, and it goes in both directions here like this. So the parabola then would be the line or the curve that is equidistant from both this directrix and that focus here. That means every point on this parabola would be the exact same distance away from both this line and this point here. So the vertex is going to be right in the middle of these 2 points. So what's right in the middle of these 2 points? Well, this y value is 1 and this is -4. So to find the middle of 2 values, you just use the midpoint formula. So 1 plus -4 is -3. -3 divided by 2 is -3/2. So that would be right here about -1.5. This would be right where that vertex is. And then this thing would be upwards like this and upwards like this. And by definition, what it means is that if you take any point on here, let's say you took this point right here, and you looked at the distance from this focus to that point, it would be the same as the distance from, oh, that's a horrible dotted line, but hopefully you could kind of see it'd be the same as the distance from the directrix to that same point. This distance and this distance would be the same. So this is how we define it. So at any point on this parabola, it would be the same. So the distance from, if you took a point here, from there to there would be the same as the distance from there to there. So you could call this A, which means that this would be A, and you could call this B, and that would also be B here, because those distances have to be equidistant or the same. All right, so now that we've kind of defined it and we know what this directrix is, and we know what this focus is. Let's talk about the standard form of the parabola here, or the equation of the parabola, and kind of go from there. So it's going to look like this. It's going to look like y is equal to a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. And we're going to have some information here. All right, so where the vertex is equal to hk. So we have the vertex is equal to hk, where a, that number out front, is equal to 1 over 4p. And we're going to talk a little bit about p. P is going to be the distance between the focus and the vertex, that distance here. You could also calculate it as the vertex and the directrix, since this is right in the middle. And the distance from the focus to the directrix would be a p plus a p, so that would just be equal to 2p. So this is what we need in order to kind of get this formula here. So now let's go ahead and start working this thing out. All right. So in order to find this vertex here, notice it's going to have the same x value as our focus, right? So this vertex, let's start with this vertex here. So vertex. It's going to have the same x value as our focus. So our focus is at 2. It's just going straight down. So we're going to have the same x value. But the y value, right? The y value, we already figured that out. We said it's halfway between the y value of our focus and the y value of our directrix. So we just took those two y values, added them together, divided by 2, and you get -3/2. -3 over 2. So that is our vertex right there. So that is 2/3 of our problem. So the only other thing we need to do is find that a. So let's work on that a. So the a is equal to 1 over 4p. All right, so let's go ahead, and I know that the distance from the focus to the directrix is 2p. We just talked about that, right? And what is the distance between 1 and -4, right? How far does it go from 1 to -4? That's a distance of 5, right? If you just do 1 minus -4, that's 1 plus 4, which is 5. So if 2p is equal to 5, then divide both sides by 2, and you get p is equal to 5/2. So that's one way to figure out the p. Just set it like that. Or, since I already know what the vertex is, I could also just do it straight from there. I could do the 1 minus the -3/2, and you'll also get the 5/2 like that as well. Since we know that if you just subtract that. Now remember, p can be positive or negative. So we always have to start with the focus and going this way. So if it's an upwards parabola, our a and our p is going to end up being positive. But if it's a downwards opening parabola, then our a and our p is going to end up being negative, because you're going to start with the focus and move up towards the vertex and then towards the directrix. So your focus and your directrix will be on opposite ends. So you'll end up getting a -a and a -p. So just remember that. That's really important, and it's a place where I see a lot of mess ups happening. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and plug this in here. So this is equal to 1 over 4 times 5/2. That's equal to 1 over, that's 2. So 1 over 2 times 5, 1 over 10. All right, so a is equal to 1/10. So now we have everything that we need to plug in there. Give myself a tiny bit more space here. So our final equation is going to look like this. Y is equal to A, 1 over 10, times x minus h, x minus 2, x minus 2 squared, plus a negative 3 halves. In this case, that'll just be a minus 3 halves. That's it. That's our final equation there. So this equation here will graph this upwards opening parabola, and that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks.